and it is about, because we took plant nutrition, then this is about human nutrition. This is a very interesting chapter, by the way, although it's long, but it's very interesting. Now, because of the human nutrition relies on diet, so we are going to begin with diet. So what's the meaning of diet? Diet means the food that we eat. Yani I know in Egypt, when somebody needs to lose weight, they say, أنا هعمل diet. This is a wrong expression, طبعا. Completely wrong. Something away from. You hate the plants يا كنزي من دلوقتي. استني اكرهيها شوية الكورس الجاي واللي وراه. although والله مش صعبة يعني. بس مش عارفة ليه كلنا we don't like it. طيب. الdiet is the food of the animal eats every day. طبعا we are among the animals because we are part of the animal kingdom. So this is the diet, the food that we eat all the day or every day يعني. Most of the animals, they need 7 types of nutrients that have to be included in their diet. I already explained the word nutrient in the very first session we had together. Nutrient means something that gives us nutrition or from which we can derive energy and stay healthy. All of the perfect diet must include carbohydrates. It must include proteins, of course. Proteins. But let me write the fats at the beginning because I'm going to speak about carbohydrates and fats together. Proteins. Of course, these are the main components. Are there any more components? Of course. We must include vitamins. We must include minerals. And above all, we must include water. Type. All these are the 7 main nutrients. There is something else, fiber. These are the 7 main components that our diet must include, or the 7 main nutrients. These 7 nutrients, every nutrient has its own function. For example, carbohydrates and fats, they give us energy. Or we call them the energy nutrients or the energy storing food, because we derive the energy from them. Type. What about the others? طبعا the protein is very important for growth and for building the tissues, for repairing our damaged cells and so on, for building enzymes, for building antibodies, but they have their own needs which are very, very important. What about the vitamins and minerals? We always mention them together because these vitamins and minerals, they are very, very important to our bodies, but we call them trace amounts. So what's the meaning of trace amounts? Means in very little amounts, and in spite of this, they are very important to our bodies. Yani, for example, the digestion of protein or the assimilation of protein in our body cannot be done except in the presence of these minerals or the presence of vitamins. Vitamins and minerals, they are found in trace elements, are needed in very little amounts, but they are very, very important. What about the fiber? Fiber is the cell wall. Remember when I was explaining the cell wall and I said that the human body cannot digest cellulose because we do not have the enzyme for cellulose. That's why the cellulose changes into fiber in our intestine, and this is very healthy to our large intestine. Of course, water is very, very important because all the metabolic reactions that happen in the body happen in the presence of water. Of course, the rate at which the body uses the energy from diet, this is called the metabolic rate. Again, I'm going to explain this. Metabolic rate is the rate at which the body utilizes or uses the energy that is provided by the food. Type. How much do we eat and what do we eat? We have to eat all these nutritious materials in the right amounts. What do I mean by the right amounts? It means that I should not get a dish and I put, for example, I fill it with rice and then I put a very small piece of meat and one tablespoonful of vegetables. This is not fair. You are going to just eat carbohydrates and you are omitting or ignoring the rest. We cannot eat only proteins and we ignore eating carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, and so on. So we have to input or ingest. Look at this word. I mentioned it again in the first session. Ingest means to eat and to swallow the food inside our digestive canal. We have to ingest all the 7 nutrients in the right amounts. What else? How much do we eat? This is not constant for everybody. Yani everybody has their own amount to eat. The amount that we eat differs according to certain factors. Now, what are these factors? The first factor, of course, is age. So when a child is born, this child needs has more energy demands until they stop growing. Yani when a child is born, this is an infant, and then it grows to be a child, and then it grows to be an adolescent, and then it's going to be an adult. The child or the infant grows or needs energy to grow very fast in order to be a child. And the child needs an great amount of energy to grow very fast to be an adolescent. And the adolescents, of course, they need a great amount of energy to grow to be adults. When they reach adulthood, the growth is slowing down until it stops completely. Of course, for the height or the shape of the body, but of course, we need proteins, for example, to, in spite we are adults, to, for example, to build or to build new tissues or to repair the damaged cells and so on. During this period, it is called the growing period. And of course, growth needs energy. That's why the human, since it is born as an infant till the growth to adulthood, they need a high amount of energy and until they stop growing. This means that because it's a growing period, so they need higher amounts of proteins. Because I just said that proteins are needed for growth mainly. They need a higher amount of protein per kilogram of body weight than the adults do. For example, if I have a child, the body weight is about 15 kilograms. And an adult is 40. 40 ده يبقى صغير قوي. 50. ممكن يبقى 45, for example. 50. Let it be 50. The amount of protein needed per kilogram body weight for a child is much more than the amount of the protein needed by this adult of 50 kilograms. Means that while children are growing, they need more protein per kilogram of the body weight than the adults do. This is the first factor that we depend on how much do we eat and what to eat exactly. The second, of course, you know that infants, they are feeding on milk to give them, of course, proteins, fats, sugars, water, all the vitamins, all these are included in milk, as we are going to know later. So what's the second factor that changes our dietary requirements? Sex. Or in other words, the gender. Whether a male or female, because of the normal design of the body of the male, so they need more energy than females. In males, they need more energy than females. Now, what about if somebody, activity level? Activity here means whether this person is active or not. Of course, the people who are active, they need more and more energy than those people leading a sedentary life. Sedentary means that they are always at rest. It's coming from the word sad, because our health is sad or our body is sad. It's not active. Exercise, if somebody is exercising regularly or even just going to walk 3 times a week, for example, for half an hour, this is an active body. So activity, when there is activity, of course, they need more energy than the sedentary life or people that are always at rest. The fourth factor, for example, is the pregnant woman, pregnant and lactating woman. Of course, pregnant, we know what's the meaning of pregnant. Pregnant means she's expecting a baby, or there is a baby in her uterus. But what's the lactating woman? This is the woman that's feeding her baby by her breast milk. So whether the woman is pregnant or lactating, so she needs extra nutrients for, of course, not for herself, for the development of her baby or her infant. When it is born and when she's still pregnant, so these nutrients are important for her fetus. Fetus is a word other than embryo. Yani when we are going to learn pregnancy بقى later on, I can't remember which chapter, in a later chapter, then you are going to see that there are stages in which the baby is growing inside the uterus. One of these stages is the fetus, and the one before is the embryo. It's called an embryo at certain age of pregnancy, and then it's called a fetus. Pregnancy, there is a fetus in the uterus, so it must develop, it must grow, so it needs an extra amount of nutrients. Lactating, when the infant, which is the child, when it is born until the age of 2 years, needs, of course, more nutrients in the mother's milk. And whenever the milk is better, so of course the infant's development and growth is going to be better. But these are the factors on which we rely on in how much we eat and what to eat exactly. But let's go now to what I was just saying. It's called a balanced diet. From this word, what's the meaning of balanced? I just gave you an example that we need to eat the 7 nutrients, but we should not increase one nutrient yani on the expense of the other. Yani you should not eat too much carbohydrates and you do not eat enough proteins, for example. So what's the definition for this balanced diet? This is the diet that contains the main nutrients, not only the main nutrients, but in the correct amounts. According to what? According to your age, according to your sex, according to your activity, if the woman is pregnant or lactating, so the correct amount differs from other correct amounts. The correct amount for you is different from the correct amount of somebody else, according to their age, their gender, activity, and whether there is a pregnant woman or lactating woman or not. Correct amounts, of course, and proportions. يعني. Either you can just say the correct amounts or the right amounts, And we eat a balanced diet for only one reason: to maintain our health. طيب, where can we get food from, and what are the types of food, and what are the functions in the body? The first type of nutrient, for example, is or component of diet, carbohydrates. Where can we get these carbohydrates? Of course, we can get carbohydrates from, for example, rice containing starch, bread. Could you show the previous? I erased it. I erased it. You are going to see it بقى في No, this is not the one. You are going to see it in the video. I'm sending you the video at night, inshallah, because I do not have enough boards. That's why I erase, but they are found in the video. طبعا. We feed on carbohydrates. We get carbohydrates from rice, from bread, from, for example, potatoes, pasta, and so on. Anything that contains starch, and of course we do not have to forget sugars. Sugars, either طبعا the sucrose that we use as table sugar, but we should not use a lot of it. Sugars are preferably got from fruits and vegetables. You're going to ask me, do vegetables contain sugars? Yes, they contain, but in very little amounts. What's the function of carbohydrates? Who can tell me? I am explaining since the beginning of the session. Yalla Kenzi. Why do we need carbohydrates? To provide us with
energy?
Of course. Excellent. Carbohydrates, they are very rich sources of energy. But let me go to the next kind of nutrient, مثلا proteins. Where can we get proteins from? طبعا we all know from any kind of meat, whether red meat, okay, or white meat, like those of chicken, for example. We can eat meat of the fish. We can get our protein from eggs, from milk, or milk products, or the dairy products, as we know. All these are animal resources for proteins. What about the plant resources? All the legumes. So what are the legumes or the leguminous plants? These are the plants that have proteins, or stores of proteins inside their bodies, and when we eat these plants, we get our protein amounts. Some people, they do not rely on هم vegans, they do not, or the vegetarians, they do not. بس هم طبعا كل حاجة الأمريكان they try to get a nickname for it. يعني it's actually called the vegetarian, but they call them vegans as a short word for vegetarian. Some people, they do not eat animal products at all. They rely in their protein amount on the legumes. And for example, here, leguminous plants, we have the beans, lentils, peas. These are vegetables. Yani peas are vegetables containing proteins. Soya beans, for example. No, they do not. They do not eat anything that was living. No. No fish, no meat, no living organism. يعني animals, I mean, or animal products. They do not eat them. طيب يا عبد الرحمن, why do we need proteins? What's the function of protein in the body? Two functions. What are they? Growth, very good. And what else? And what else? You remember? No, this is a kind of growth for repair. Repairing what? Repairing damaged cells or dead cells or damaged tissues. Somebody مثلا is wounded, so the cells are damaged, the tissues are damaged, so they, well, if you are eating a good amount of protein in your diet, so there is a repair to your wound very fast. طبعا والهرمونز والانتي-bodies everything of course. بس طبعا we are going to deal with this later on لما ناخد بقى الاميونيتي والنيرفس سيستم الهوميوستاسيس. ف we are just at the beginning. تقولوا لي كل ده the beginning? Yes, there are 22 chapters. We are still in chapter 7. So this is the main need for protein and growth in repairing damaged tissues and cells. Now the third, fats. Fats, of course, we have fats and oils, and I told you before that both of them, they are included among the lipids. And the kinds of food that have fats, for example, like butter, like ghee اللي هي السمنة. What else? Oils, like the oils that we put in our food. Also, there are, for example, cheese contains fats as well. Nuts, almonds, يعني كل المجموعة دي الnuts, peanuts, almonds, walnuts, cashews. What is the difference between ghee and butter? بصي الباتر أنا أقول لك بقى. الباتر they form ghee out of butter. يعني when they the amount of liquid in butter is more. يعني when they want to make ghee, they just put butter on very low heat until it separates the amount of liquid from it, and they take what is left in the bottom of the container and they make ghee from it. And it's only the amount of water in butter is more. طيب بتر الزبدة جي السمنة. اوكي. وساعات هنا يقولوا عليها مارجرين الجي. Sometimes they call it margarine. اعتقد المارجرين is the artificial ghee اللي هي which is not healthy, that is formed from oil, hydrogenation of oil. This is not healthy. طيب what about the needs or the functions? طيب Veronica, can you give me only one function for lipids? I mentioned this at the beginning of this chapter. Give me only one function for lipids. What do we get from lipids?
They store energy.
Excellent, excellent. Bravo, bravo. And I'm going to explain later on بقى another use for fats in our body, which is insulation. I'm going to give you a hint لحد ما I explain the skin ونبدأ نتكلم على الانسوليشن ده. مظبوط. احنا يا جماعة under our skin, just beneath the skin, there is a layer of fat. طبعا the thickness of this layer of fat differs from مثلا a thin person أو an overweight or whatever. This layer of fat, it acts as an insulator. Insulator means that it prevents the heat of our body to escape to the air. And that's it. على ده. When we learn something about the skin, we are going to know more about this insulation or the layer of fat. طيب. I just explained what's the meaning of diet, what should we eat, how much should we eat, the balanced diet. But what if somebody is not eating a balanced diet? This will result in a kind of disorder which is called malnutrition. If you are learning French at school, the word mal means bad. So bad nutrition. Type. Why these people have this disorder? Because either they are eating the wrong amounts, and I mean by the wrong amounts, whether too little or too much. These are wrong amounts. Too much is unhealthy and too little is unhealthy as well. طيب, suppose they are eating right amounts or a good quantity of food, but incorrect proportions. So this is an unbalanced diet. Incorrect proportions of nutrients, of course. Or they can, there may be one of the key nutrients lacking. What are the key nutrients? Key nutrients that we call the key nutrients, which are the vitamins, minerals, fiber, and water. But without these nutrients, the body will not work properly. So let's begin by vitamins. وعلى فكرة, in the Cambridge book, they included the word key nutrient في meaning of malnutrition, and they did not include it here. There are some mistakes, even if Cambridge, بس في mistakes, not only in Cambridge, with Oxford, with Dexel, في mistakes كتير في البوكس. I don't know why they يعني مفيش revision أو مش عارفة. فالvitamins, what are vitamins? As I just said, that they are needed in tiny amounts or trace amounts. The what are vitamins? What are they formed of? They are organic molecules as well. It means that they contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. They are organic substances, but they are needed in very little amounts or tiny amounts, and the lack of these vitamins, they lead to something called the deficiency diseases. We are going to learn something about these deficiency diseases later on. We have, for example, of the vitamins, we have vitamins that we all know: vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin F, vitamin H, في all the letters, يعني A و B و C و D و E و F و H. Okay, all these are kinds of vitamins. You don't have to know all, يعني just vitamin C and vitamin D, vitamin A. But what about the second nutrient, اللي هو minerals? Minerals means, I told you before, either we say salts or ions. Okay, our mineral salts, sometimes we call them mineral salts. The minerals, they are not organic, they are inorganic. Deficiency because the vitamin, or just a second. بصي يا كنزي, ما هو الفيتامين is a kind of nutrient. Okay, if this vitamin is lacking in our diet, so it leads to some diseases called deficiency. Deficiency هنا is a certain expression for the disease that happens because of lack of vitamins. Okay, well, vitamins, these are kinds of nutrients. للvitamins بس بقول عليه deficiency disease because the vitamin is deficient. Okay, ولسه هناخدهم طبعا. العفو. بصي بقى, المينرالز دول طبعا inorganic. And again, they are needed in tiny amounts, very small amounts, or trace amounts, where the best example that we need طبعا الكالسيوم, iron, as I just said, it's a main component of the functioning component of the hemoglobin. يعني there is a part of the hemoglobin molecule called the heme group that has iron as a main component inside this heme group. Calcium is very much needed for building our bones and teeth. For the blood clotting, we need calcium. These are very, very important minerals, and others, of course. But what about the third key nutrient or nutrient, which is the fiber? I explained this before, and I said that These were cell walls of the plant cells, and they help our alimentary canal or our digestive system, our digestive canal to work properly. Now, I'd like to explain برضو a part. This is not actually its place, but it's written here in the book. In when we eat food, so food will move from a part of our digestive canal to another by a certain kind of movement, which is called peristalsis. Peristalsis is the movement of the parts of our digestive canal, and this peristalsis is done by contractions and relaxations of the muscles that are included inside our digestive canal.
Miss, can you repeat it? The movement of what?
The movement of food inside our digestive canal. We are going this chapter to learn the digestive canal طبعا. digestive canal, for example, the stomach. It moves by this peristalsis or contraction and relaxation of the muscles that are found in its wall. Our intestine, they are in continuous movement because of contraction and relaxation in the muscles of the wall. With this movement, allows the food to be pushed from one station of our alimentary canal to the other. Yani, for example, when we eat food and we swallow it, food is going to pass in a certain tube, which is called esophagus. Type, suppose the food that we swallowed is here. Just at the end of the esophagus, there is the stomach. Type, how can the food move by itself like this? Because this esophagus is going to contract to push the food and then relax, so food is found here. I want to push it much lower, so the muscle above it is going to contract to push it much lower, like this. We are going to learn this in details when I explain the digestive system. This movement is called peristalsis, and it is due to contraction and relaxation of muscles that are found in our digestive canal. Type. By the way, this peristalsis is very obvious, how it expresses itself highly when the food is found in the digestive canal. Well, peristalsis is found all the time, even if we are not eating, but it is more prominent when we are eating. The muscles, they work strongly when there is hard or less digestible food. Like what? Like fibers. As I told you before, that the cellulose is not digested. But if it is found inside our, for example, large intestine, so its peristalsis is going to be stronger and harder. Okay? But if this fiber is found and this fiber is not digested, and it's like a hard material, so the presence of fiber in our intestine will help them to move better. طبعا good working of the intestine allows the undigested food to get out of our body as feces. What is feces? This is what you find in the toilet other than urine, because some students, they don't know what is this. This is the word, feces. There is another word, stools, but we always rely on this word for our work. If the movement of the intestine is good because of the presence of the undigested food, which is, some of them are in the form of fiber, so the intestines are going to expel these feces out of our body. If somebody is not eating fiber or not eating plants like vegetables and fruits, the movement of their intestine will be very, very slow, and this will result in something called, a condition called constipation. Constipation means very hard stools or very hard feces, and they are expelled out of the body after a very long time. يعني a healthy intestine expels the feces out, for example, every day. And the feces are of normal consistency, not very hard and not very soft. If somebody is not eating fiber, so the undigested food is going to remain for a longer time inside the intestine because they are not moving properly. So this will result in delayed evacuation of the undigested food and constipation as well, very hard feces. But all plants, they contain this fiber in their cell wall as cellulose, of course, but as for human beings, we cannot digest this cellulose because we do not have the enzyme for digesting cellulose, which is called, of course, the cellulase enzyme. We do not have this enzyme. But let me give you an example for fiber. طبعا cellulose is found in all plants, in fruits and vegetables, but there is a kind of fiber that we use in our bread, for example, which is called the bran. Bran is very, very important. Do you know that if you are eating white bread made with white flour, this is not healthy. The healthier bread is the bread اللي هو بقول عليه ساعات the whole wheat bread or the bread that contains bran. مش عارفة you are going to know this bran if I mentioned its name in Arabic. يعني in Egypt we call it الردة. You know it? Who knows this?
أنا عارفاها بس.
طيب كويس الحمد لله because whenever I say it the students know we don't know it.
لا أنت عارفاها.
طب الحمد لله يا انشي يا كنزي، انت دايما كده عارفه رافعه معنوياتي يعني. يعني في بعض students when I begin to explain مثلا البوتيتوز والكولكيزيا they don't know what's colchicea. I tell them القلقاس. Have you seen القلقاس before? No, we didn't see it. We see it only in cubes. طيب يا جماعه. So I get a picture from Google to show them colchicea in nature. كويس انت كنزي بترفع معنوياتي على فكره. ايه يا فيرونيكا؟ Do you know the brand؟ وعبد الرحمن you know the brand ولا you never saw it؟ You never saw it يا كنزي يا فيرونيكا؟ عموما هو بيعملوا منه اللون البراد اللي بيبقى light brown. Okay, this is very healthy. طب what is this brand؟ عمرك ما فكرتي طبعا يا كنزي. This bran is the outer husk of the cereal grain like wheat for example. الويت يا جماعة الويت plant بيبقى found like this. Okay. they just peel off. They call it the husk or the covering of the wheat seeds or whatever. They uncover it and they take this cover to make the bran with it. This is very healthy, by the way, to our intestine. يعني a very important source of fiber. Type. Let us take some, I'll give you some functions for some vitamins and their deficiency, the food that contains these kinds of vitamins. And let me begin by the most famous vitamin, which is vitamin C. Type. Where can we get vitamin C? Of course, from all the citrus fruits, like oranges, like mandarins, tangerines, lemons. They contain vitamin C. Also, citrus fruits, we can get vitamin C from, for example, there is a very important source of vitamin C, guavas. El guavas, they have an amount of vitamin C more than the amount found in citrus fruits. A very high resource of vitamin C. Also, vitamin C is found in tomatoes, in mangoes, in cabbages, in blueberry or the black currants in general. They have vitamin C. But what's the function of this vitamin C? Why is it important to us? Because vitamin C maintains a healthy skin and healthy blood vessels, and especially the blood vessels of the gum. Now, what's the gum? It is the kind of tissue that holds the teeth. And if you open your mouth, your teeth are attached to the gum, this pink or dark pink tissue that is found holding the gums together, the teeth together. Now, what if vitamin C is lacking? بصي deficiency disease ده يا كنزي. If vitamin C is lacking, it leads to a very important disease, an annoying disease called scurvy. I had a picture for this scurvy. Here, there are bleeding gums because the gums will not be healthy anymore. Somebody with scurvy will open the mouth to find blood coming out of the gums. Also, bleeding under the skin. Under the skin. Just without any, مثلا, bumping with anything. They are just sitting, they found that there is bleeding under the skin. Spots of blood like this. I'm going to check whether I have, I think I have a picture for, طبعا, bleeding gums. I'm going to show it to you for a second and I will remove it because it looks sad. Oh, you cannot look at it. Look at this. This is scurvy, bleeding gum. Okay, I will remove it now. It's not a pleasure to see this picture. I just wanted to show it to you. But this is about vitamin C. Let me go to the next famous vitamin, which is vitamin D. This is very, very important, especially in young children. Vitamin D is found in, for example, it's found in some food like milk, and of course all the milk products or the dairy products like cheese, butter, ghee, everything that is formed of milk. It's found in eggs. Not all the egg, of course, the egg yolk, because the egg white contains protein, more, the albumin, it's kind of protein. It is found in fish liver oil. Sometimes we buy this fish liver oil. Of course, we do not go to buy it as oil. We buy it from the pharmacies in the form of tablets. They are rounded tablets that look like crystals like this, and they are very soft. They are containing fish liver oil inside. They are very healthy. Type. Do you know that the body forms vitamin D if found in the sunlight? That's why sunlight forms vitamin C in the body, in the body. It's formed by the skin. If you have a baby at home or you have seen a baby, these babies must be exposed to sunlight when they are very young. They have to put the baby in the poussette or whatever in the sunlight and expose the arms and the legs to be exposed to the sunlight in order to allow the body to form vitamin D. Vitamin D is formed inside the body. And of course, it is found in some of our food. So what's the function of this vitamin D? Vitamin D maintains the hardness of our bones and teeth. Vitamin D, of course, you are going to say, no, it's calcium. Yes, it is calcium, but vitamin D helps the absorption of calcium from the small intestine. If we are eating food containing calcium, it will not be absorbed to the blood in order to go to the bones and teeth, except in the presence of vitamin D. Vitamin D, if it is present, it triggers the absorption of calcium from our intestine or ease أو بتخليها facilitated absorption أو eases the absorption of calcium from our intestine. But what if somebody has lack of vitamin D? This results in a very famous kind of disorder which is called rickets. In rickets here, the bones are soft and they are deformed. They lead to something called the bow legs. Yani the legs, they look like bows like this. You know the bow and arrow? And this is the rest of the body. So the legs, they have bowing. I think I have a picture here for rickets. And it's not only the chest. Where is it? أشيل الشات دي أنا فاكرة كنت مزودة. Here it is. The chat box is hiding too much. It does not only affect طبعا the legs. Here are the bow legs. Look at this rickets. And they stay like this for life على فكرة. يعني not if the bow legs are يعني the legs developed to be bow legs like these, they stay like this for life. It's not improved. So this is vitamin D, and that's enough with vitamins. Let's go to minerals. Let me explain calcium. At the beginning, where is calcium found? In milk and its products, for example, cheese, the white cheese, the white one, the cottage cheese, feta cheese, all these, they contain calcium, and it's found in fish. Type. What's the function of of calcium? Now, as I just said, they strengthen our bones and teeth, and يعني its effect on the bones and teeth. And there is a very important function for calcium is blood clotting. So if somebody is wounded and the blood is trickling or oozing out of this wound, so after a while, the blood is going to stop. This is called blood clotting. And it's a certain mechanism in which calcium is very, very important. But what if we have shortage or lack of calcium, again, because they are important to the bones and teeth, يبقى rickets على طول. Okay, and of course, بتبقى delayed clotting of blood. It clots, but not very fast. This is for calcium. What about the next mineral, which is iron? As I just said, that iron is very important in our hemoglobin. So where can we get iron from? From several kinds of food. From red meat, for example, like the meat of cows, buffaloes, sheep, whatever. Also, a very important source of iron is the liver. If you like it, then it's a very good source of iron. We can find it in eggs. We can find it in vegetables like the green, for example, the spinach. It contains a lot of iron. Cabbages. You are going to like this, chocolate. These are good sources of iron. Somebody's chatting أنا قفلت الchat box معلش. Just a second. لحظة أنا أفتح الchat box تاني. Cauliflower. Cauliflower has iron, but less than that in cabbage. يعني cabbage has a higher amount of iron. في iron, بس الcabbage more. Although they, as if they belong to the same family because they have the same smell. Because they contain something inside that gives this smell. But it contains iron, but of less amount than cabbages. And I just said what's the effect of iron. It's a main component of hemoglobin. And I just explained why, because this heme, it contains iron, as I wrote it in symbols, iron, as the main component of the heme group. Now, what if there is lack of iron? Lack of iron means that the hemoglobin is not going to be with the same amount, or it's not going to be healthy. So this results in what's known as anemia. Anemia means that this will not only affect the amount of hemoglobin, but will affect the number of our red blood cells. So there are not enough red blood cells, so not enough oxygen carriage to the tissues. When we have anemia, so we always feel like tiredness, and we always feel like we have lack of energy. Not only a feeling, yes, we do not have enough energy because not enough oxygen is reaching the cells. That's all for iron, and now let's go to fiber. And by the way, in the notes you are going to see that I've put all this in a table, and when you study you find it all in front of you. Here the fiber, again, as I just said, that it's طبعا the cell wall or cellulose, so it's found in all kinds of vegetables, in fruits, and of course if I want to say something about the bread, the whole wheat bread. Sometimes they call it the whole meal bread because the brand that it contains is very, very healthy. Type. Cellulose has a function, of course, as I just said, that it adds a bulk to the undigested food that's passing through our intestine, and this will lead to how to maintain the peristalsis, or the movement of the intestine, ileal contractions and relaxation of the intestine. But what if there is lack of fiber? As I just said, there will be constipation, meaning hard stools that are not evacuated regularly, and if there is a very long deficiency or long-term deficiency, will lead to a very dangerous bowel cancer. The word bowel means intestine, where you always misconceive this for the bowl. Bowl is, of course, what you put, for example, soup in. This is the bowl, but bowel, this is the intestine, another word for the intestine. So prolonged deficiency, or if there is deficiency of fiber for a very long time, this leads to cancer of the intestine. Now let's go to the king or the queen, water. Why do I say the queen? Because most of our cells is formed of water. Our blood is mostly formed of water. So water, of course, is even if you did not drink water, it's found in drinks, of course, and you can drink water as such, or in whatever the drinks are, in juices, in tea, coffee, Nescafe, they contain all water. Also, they are found in fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, they contain a lot of water, but you cannot realize that they contain a lot of water like this. I can give you an example for fruits that contain a lot of water. Watermelon. ده كله water طبعا يعني. طب what is the function of water? What are the functions of water? Of course, as I just said, that water is an important component of our cells because it forms the cytoplasm, or 72% تقريبا of the cytoplasm, it's formed of water, it forms the blood. Because as we are going to learn later that the blood has a liquid part, how many liters do you have to drink every day according to your age, according to your body. But a healthy adult of an average size must drink up to 2 liters during the summer and 1.5 liter during the winter. Okay, فالamount of water depends on several factors you can see. Not only the age with the size of the body, but for the temperature as well of course the surrounding temperature. وحاجة كمان exercising. If you are exercising, so you have to drink more and more water because more water is going to get out as sweat and urine. So you have to compensate or to restore the amount of water inside your body. But there is not an exact volume of water you have to drink, but as I just told you, a healthy average weight or average sized body must drink 1.5 liter during the winter time. 1.5 liter, yani about 6 glasses of water, and you should not drink them together in the same time. لا, you have to divide them on divided amounts per day, where during the summer 2 liters, or according to what you need. Sometimes even if you are going to drink this amount, you still feel thirsty in some parts of the day, so why not drink? It's good, it's not something bad. Also, water is very, very important because it, as I told you before, that anything that is transported in the body, it needs water. Like مثلا the transport of, or the removal of wastes, for example, like urine, like sweat, removal of wastes. Also, enzymes, they can never work except in the presence of water, for example. فالwater طبعا they are it's very important in many aspects in our body. But what if there is low amount of water taken or whatever? This results in a serious, يعني really serious condition called dehydration. D means no, hydro means water. So the dehydration means that the body lost its water, or most of its water, and it has to be replaced immediately. Yani في some conditions, for example, if there is certain diseases where somebody's vomiting or throwing and having diarrhea or the very, very loose stools or feces, this means that they are losing water from their bodies, and this amount of water has to be replaced by either drinking something called the oral rehydrating solution, or having a drip in the vein for rescuing the life. Dehydration is fatal if it persisted. Right. I just said about 15 minutes ago that we should not eat too much, we should not eat little amounts, or this will result in malnutrition, and this was a cause for malnutrition: too much food or too little food. And I also said that there are, even if you eat a good amount, then there is incorrect proportions. Type. If we are eating too much carbohydrates and fats, this results in something, or a condition called obesity. Obesity means abnormal accumulation of fat in the body. يعني obese persons, by the way, there is a difference between overweight and obesity. قالوا نتكلم بقى في if the weight increased more than overweight, the person becomes obese. We say an obese person, and the disorder is called obesity. This results on eating too much carbohydrates and too much fats. أو بمعنى تاني, we are taking in carbs or carbohydrates and fats in large amounts, or in other words, اشمعنى بقى carbohydrates and fats؟ فيرونيكا قالت لنا قبل كده وكنزي, because they are storage of energy. But if they ate too much carbohydrates and fats, it means that they are eating, or they are having a very high input of energy. more than their output. طب what's the meaning of output? It means that we are using this energy in مثلا muscular exercise, for example. This is the output of energy. We are using this energy. But if we kept on eating great amounts of carbohydrates and fats, it means that we are storing our energy inside the body. يعني we are using a part of it and the rest is going to be stored. والمشكلة الكبيرة إن the carbohydrates, when they are stored as fats. You know why? Because both of them, they are formed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen only. But if I have large amounts of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, they gather together to give fats. And they are stored inside the body, and this is very dangerous to health. يعني obesity may lead to many conditions in the body, not only because they are fat or very high in the body shape or very يعني large body shape. Obesity leads to dangerous diseases. The most dangerous are the heart diseases. They affect the heart greatly. They lead to rising of the blood pressure, and this is again dangerous. It might lead to heart disease again. Blood pressure. Also, obesity leads to, because of the very high weight, this will have a stress on the bones and joints. Comes a time they are not able to walk even or to move. Yani sometimes we see in pictures or in movies or whatever, obese persons that cannot move. They are just on a bed, sleeping on a bed, even they cannot sit because of their huge weight. This will, of course, because affects the blood pressure, it affects the brain, can lead to stroke. There is a famous disease which is diabetes, اللي هو مرض السكر أو السكري زي ما ساعات يقولوا عليه. وطبعا this leads to low self-esteem. يعني بتبقى السايك بتاع these أو how they feel they are feeling very low. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Plus our time ran out, and I'm going to complete about obesity next session inshallah. Yalla, bye bye, and please solve your homework. Please ما حدش يتأخر عن الديو ديت. اوكي الجوجل كلاس روم بيكتب له late turning in, but please don't be late عشان أنا ألاقي وقت أعمل له checking لو سمحت. Thank you for listening and see you inshallah next session.
Thank you, Miss.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye bye.